everyone, we are here to present to you Valediction sa Hillcrest by Rolando Estinio. We are Group 1 and I am Maldonado Kiefer together with Patingan Leo, Quezon Brandon, Tanglanan Rosalie, Ikis Willie, and Valeriano Mayra. Next slide please. This is Valediction sa Hillcrest and I am going to read the poem. Pagkakolek ng Railway Express sa aking piece, diretso na yon sa barko while I take the plane. Inakyat kong muli ang N311 at dahil dead of winter, nakatapkot at galo siya sa kong, nag-right turn sa N-wing ng mahabang dilim. Tunnel yata nga abot hanggang tundo. Inapa ko ang switch sa hall. Sa isang pitik, nag-shrink ang imaginary tunnel. Nagparang ataol, or katakum. Strangely absolute ang impression ng hilera ng mga pintong nagpuprosisyon. Individual identification, parang mommy cases. The nameplate, the numero, the hometown address. Antiseptic ang atmosphere, streamlined yet. Kung hindi katakum, at least filing cabinet. Filing, hindi naman deaths ha. Remembrances, oo. Yung medyo malapot. Dahil alam mo na, I'm quitting the place. After 2.5 years. After 2.5 years. Di man nakatsyempong mag-ugat, ika nga. Siyempre naging attached. Parang morning glory. Mahirap mapaknit sa alambreng trellis. At pagkabukas ko sa kwarto, hubot-hubad na ang mattresses. Wala nang kutson sa easy chair. Mga drawer ng bureau nakanganga. Sabay-sabay nag-o-oration. Nagkahiyaan na bara. Of course, tuloy ang radiator sa pag-aralgal. Nasa New York na si Bob and the two Allans. Yung mga quarterbacks across the hall, pihadong panay ang display sa Des Moines. Doon ang constants aren't coming back at all. Gusto ko nang magpaalam to whom? The drapes? The washbowl? Sa double-decker na pinaikot-ikot namin ni Kandaswam to create space? Hopeless. Talagang impossible. Of course, tuloy ang radiator sa paglagutok. At the stone silence, nakakaiyak ang sumunod. Bueno, let's get it over with. It's a long walk to the depot. Tama na ang sophistication. Sa steep incline, pababa sa highway, where all things level, sabi nga. There's a flurry, ang gentle. Pag whoosh-whoosh ng pako, the snow melts right under. Nagtutubig parang asukal. Humuhulas, nagsesentimental. Now, for the overview of the literature, in his poem, the poem of Rolando Estinio, The Valediction sa Hillcrest, Rolando Estinio describes his departure from the United States and return to the Philippines. He expresses his feelings and experiences in a highly creative and vivid manner. The poem also employs two separate tongues, namely English and Filipino. Next slide, please. Now, for the author's background, in the picture, you can see Rolando Estinio. Rolando Estinio was born in Gagalangin, Tondo, Manila on March 5, 1937. He has already shown a liking for planning and leading with his playmates at a young age. He also wrote and acted in movies. So, Rolando Estinio is so talented that he is not only excelling in writing literatures or poems, he also excelled in being an actor, which he acted in different types of movies when he was young. He was able to complete his philosophy degree at the Royal and Pontifical University of Santo Tomas in 1955. He earned the title of Magna Cum Laude with a degree in philosophy in the University of Santo Tomas at the age of 18 in 1955, and an MFA degree in creative writing poetry from the State University of Iowa. At the Ateneo de Manila University, Estinio taught theater arts, English, and Filipino from 1958 to 1975. He decided to try writing in Tagalog, and the product of this trial was the collection of poems now called Bagay. Rolando Estinio was the sole investor of Taglish in Filipino poetry, which means that Rolando Estinio was the only one who used Taglish or two languages in one poem, which is really rare, and it is really hard to use two kinds of languages in one poem to express your feelings or to express the ideas that you want to tell to your readers. Elolo Singh, a stage, oh, Elolo Singh, a stage and screen actress, was his wife. While overseeing a musical in 1997, he experienced a heart attack. At the age of 60, he passed away, and his wife soon after. Next slide, please. These are the achievements and awards of Rolando Estino. One of them is 10 Outstanding Young Men in 1967, and uh, others are FAMAS Awards, Best Story Sidhi, Gawad Orion Awards, Best Screenplay, ng pinakamahusay na dulang pampelikula. Next slide, please. For the characters of the poem Valediction sa Hillcrest, the character in the poem is Rolando Tino himself. As the poem used a first-person point of view, the author himself might be the one narrating his own story. So because we thought that, our group thought that Rolando Tino himself is the author, I mean is the character rather in the poem Valediction sa Hillcrest. Because it is a first-person point of view. So we thought that, since this is a first-person point of view, Rolando Tino might be telling his own story or his own dilemma whether to leave the USA and come back here in the Philippines. Next slide, please. Now, for the analysis and different critics of the literature. Next slide. Valediction sa Hillcrest by Rolando Estino was a poem about a person having a dilemma to decide between two places, Tondo in New York and how it affects his whole being. The poem is rather complex because it uses two languages, which are Filipino and English. This creates a unique form of writing in which the author's style of writing is hard to find even in contemporary times. The author utilizes these languages in relation to the persona's situation in life. The author used metaphors in the poem that can be interpreted in many different ways. For example, of the metaphors that Rolando Estino used are the Railway Express, the N311, and the N-Wing are the object used to indicate that he travels and longs to go back to his hometown of Tondo. The winter weather, on the other hand, is the metaphor of hardship of traveling from place to place. Next slide, please. Now, these are the different critics of Joshua Skelton, like Mr. Aldo Manzano, and Mr. Kyle Villaveser. So as you can see, the analysis of these three persons are too long and it may take a while to read them all. So as an overview to their critics, they are amazed on how Rolando Tino wrote Valediction sa Hillcrest. They stated that it is very unique because the author used two languages in his poem, and the author used metaphors very effectively. All of these critics shown in the presentation and all of the critics we found in the internet are all positive, and they complement the work of Rolando Tino. Next slide. Now for the themes of the literature. These are the three themes that we found in the poem Valediction sa Hillcrest. The first one is no matter where you are, your character remains the same. The persona was conflicted in which place he will call his home, but in the end, he chose neither. A home does not define who we are or who you will be. It is merely a place to live at and a place where one develops himself or herself to become a person. When leaving a home, we will still be the person who we were when we left it. We will simply gain more experiences and memories to the place we are going to. Now for the second one is love. Love in this poem is not the kind of love which is romantic, but the love for the place, persons, and memories that a persona values in his life. The kind of love that is the hardest to forget and the best to remember. Now for the last theme is dilemma. The author used two languages in this poem, Filipino and English. This is to emphasize the dilemma of the persona in his piece, the dilemma of choosing between two places which he calls home. He considers how he came to have sentimental value for the place he had stayed and the things he had also stayed in. It has been around for a long time or has sentimental value. He also considers how long it has been since he has been to the Philippines, as well as being forced to choose between the two. Next slide. And lastly, for the reflection, we find Valediction's Hillcrest as a very unique literary piece, as it uses two different languages, which are English and Filipino. We were taken aback from the style Rolando Tino used. It is very unusual for an author to use two different languages in one poem. Hence, Valediction's Hillcrest piqued our interest. The situation of the persona is applicable in all of us. It is because when we are attached to a place or something, it is hard for us to let go of it. The poem wants us to realize that we have to decide for the choices that we have in our lives. The poem is really interesting and impressive. It made us realize that wherever we go or whatever place we call home, it is not enough reason to define who we are. And that's all for today. Thank you for listening.